Hello, hello. All right. Welcome to the personal statement workshop. I see some celebrations. That's nice. I'll throw one in. Yeah, I'm Rachel. We've got several Med School HQ advisors joining us. And it's also just now 4 on the nose if you're in Eastern time. So we're going to give it some time for participants and our panelists to log in. I see my friend Verinia is here. Hello, Verinia.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Perfect.
All right. So some reminders as you guys are logging in. One is we prefer to use the chat for questions and answers, and it's really helpful for us if you talk to everyone. So please go to the chat and change it from 2 hosts and panelists. That's probably the default. Change it to 2 everyone, please. And yeah, if you would like to, I see a few people already. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. I see Kelsey. I see Jacob. I see our friend David from icy Texas. I see our friend Ryan from Colorado. He's here.
What? Sorry, I'm late. I had to get some water. I had to fill my water bottle. It took me forever.
It's all right. I don't know what happened. I thought I was in the pre-room and I started the webinar. So we started a minute early because I was here. I was like, I'm going to put on lipstick real quick before the session starts. And then I was live on air. So I was like, maybe today I'm doing tail lips. I don't know.
Sweet.
Let's see. I see Maggie from Seattle, and Bimbola from New Brunswick, New Jersey, Elise from Pennsylvania, Felicia from San Francisco, Susan from Pittsburgh. So many people. Berkeley, Texas, Anaheim, Maryland, another Arizona, Tallahassee, Florida, Queens.
Ooh. I mean, hey, how you doing?
Queens, New York, they're your neighbors. You're not too far from them, Verinia.
Yeah, I know. I see that.
Lots of people. Love it.
How many of you are applying this cycle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, type in what year you're applying in the chat. Or, yeah, if you're applying this cycle, next cycle.
And then I'm just double checking. So we have all of our submissions.
Yeah, we got plenty.
Did it populate the file already? I forget if I turned that on or not.
Yeah, there's a link in the calendar, man. I've got that file. It's all you worked all your automation magic, Ryan.
Okay. Alrighty then.
We loved it. We appreciate your someone asked me the other day how you did all that automation, and I said magic. And I was like, it's really science, but since it's science I don't understand.
It's sorcery.
Awesome.
Wizardry.
Dr. Scott Wright, unfortunately, is not joining us. He is in the cold of Texas and has some family members who are without power that he has to go support.
All right. Popular question, is this going to be recorded? Yes. Always, always. And in fact, you should have gotten an alert when you logged in that it was recorded. So yeah, we'll share that recording with you. Courtney's here, so we can promote her to panelist if we need to.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I thought she was going to log in as one, so don't know what happened with that tech. But
all right, we'll get her.
I'm promoting her to panelist now. Failed to change role to panelist. Uh-oh.
No, I thought it said she was logging back in as a panelist.
Oh, maybe. Maybe that's what I missed.
Do.
All right.
All right, party people. So where should we start?
Well, let's start with a little bit of context, right? So this is a personal statement workshop session. And we are going to mostly try to spend this session literally workshopping personal statements. So we're not going to do a ton of teaching about personal statements, mostly because we've already done a lot of that and it's out there for free. So we're low cost, right? Dr. Gray, you have a personal statement book. We have tons of videos on the Med School HQ YouTube channel about our philosophy of a personal statement. So we will briefly cover some of that today, but mostly we want to get right into it. The idea with this workshop series, you might have noticed this is our second workshop in the last few weeks. We're going to start doing about 2 a month. We want to make sure to give you opportunities to really see, to get some concrete help, not just thought theory, but see how it gets into play. So pretty soon here, we're going to dig into some actual personal statement seeds. But Ryan, would you like to, for a few minutes, just sort of talk about, you sometimes joked like, there are no rules, I made up these rules. What are your thoughts on the anatomy of a personal statement? What's your personal statement philosophy?
Yeah, so I finally got my books close to me again so I can hold them up. I made up a lot of this language when I wrote my book, The Pre-Med Playbook Guide to the Medical School. Personal statement, for those of you who haven't read it, the way that I break down a personal statement in terms of what the goal is to help the reader understand why it is you want to be a doctor. What has this journey been for you? And I got a lot of my ideas and thoughts just from places outside of medical school admissions that talk about story, that talk about journeys. And I kind of modified those things. I'm like, oh, this would work really well to help students understand what it is about storytelling that helps someone connect with you as a person. And so the way that we kind of break it down for the personal statement is, what is your seed? And the seed is, when was the first exposure to healthcare that made you go, that's interesting. I think I might want to go explore that, right? It's not what students often conflate that with is the, I got hit over the head. Ow, that hurt. I got hit over the head and, oh, that aha moment. I knew right then that I wanted to be a doctor. And that's not what we're saying. What is the seed? That moment typically, right? I had, not to name drop, but I was talking to my good friend Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, on the podcast recently. That episode came out a couple weeks ago. And his seed, very similar to a lot of your seeds, is his grandfather. I think it was his grandfather, one of his grandparents, had a stroke. And at a young, he was in his low teens, was exposed to healthcare, was brought into a hospital, saw what was going on. And that was his seed. His seed was, oh my gosh, look at these people taking care of my grandparent here. I wonder what that would look like potentially if I wanted to explore that. And so he went down the path of trying to figure out if that was something right for him. And so a lot of you will have that. For me, my seed originally, I have a few seeds, right? There's always this conversation of like, what if I have multiple seeds, right? I potentially have multiple seeds. My dad was a type 1 diabetic. I hung out in the dialysis unit with him growing up. He died when I was 17, but those really aren't my true seeds. I never really thought about, oh, dad is sick and I want to take care of him and other people who are also sick the way that his doctors are taking care of him. That was never exposure for me. The exposure for me was I hurt my shoulder playing baseball. I explored physical therapy first and shadowed a physical therapist going, oh, I always thought I was going to be an athlete growing up. And now I want to go help other people be athletes. And then I dissected a cat as kind of this pseudo watering event, which I'll tell you about in a second. And I was like, okay, I want to be a doctor, not a physical therapist, a physician, not a physical therapist. And so that was my seed, was hurting my shoulder and exploring physical therapy. My seed brought me to physical therapy. It can be personal issues. It can be family issues. It can be friends. I've seen a seed of like a 5-year fifth grader, a 5-year-old, a 5th grader, or somewhere around there, whose friend was diagnosed with a childhood cancer, and what that meant to that child, and wanting to explore healthcare after that. So that's the seed. And then watering events, or what are you doing to water that seed? How are you testing the hypothesis, if we want to talk about it in a scientific method, way, how are you testing the hypothesis? The hypothesis is I want to be a doctor. So now you go and collect data. You go and you scribe and you work as a medical assistant or CNA or an EMT or a tech in the ED or whatever. And then, then you wrap it all up into a nice little conclusion. So long story there for that answer.
No, but I think it's helpful. People need that information. So here's, you guys can hopefully see this slide, anatomy, the personal statement. Ryan kind of covered that first part of it, the seed, and a little bit of Wadern events. To put this another way, we believe strongly in storytelling. Personal statements, we find, tend to be more powerful if they're heartfelt and sincere. You can see there's seeds, there's Wadern events, there's conclusions. We're not really going to get into Wadern events and conclusions today. Those will be future workshops. Today, we're going to focus mostly on seeds. And like Ryan said, there are some common seeds that often come up. There are a few seeds to avoid. Let's talk about those briefly.
Yeah. Verinia, you want to talk about those?
Sure. So some common seeds that you want to avoid, which is what most pre-meds will tend to lean towards, is if there wasn't this one thing that really kind of was that aha moment for them, it usually revolves around enjoying science. Right? They go to school, they like science classes, and they think, okay, this would make a great career.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make for very compelling reading as an admissions committee member, to this idea that, oh, you want to be a physician because you like science. So that's one thing that's very common for everyone. And there's usually more to it. It's not just, I want to be a doctor because I like science, right? Because you can be a teacher if you like science. You can be a science teacher. There's so many other things you can do. So there really needs to be more than just, I like science. And then some other things to avoid in your personal statement are things like negativity around medicine, right? I had a very negative experience, and focusing on that, I want to make it better for other people because it was terrible for me. Right, that comes across as very negative. That's not something that, it might make someone question, is this the right motivation for you to be pursuing this career? I think I covered them.
Yeah, you did.
There was one more. There was one more on the slide. Sorry.
Oh, research. I like science. I like
Thank
helping people.
Yes.
And research.
Oh, I like helping people. Yes, yes. So again, it's just really showing that there are all these other things that motivated you into this career that was just, there were more than just, I like science, I like helping people, I had a bad experience, I like research.
Right.
Yep. And just a quick little intro for those of you who don't know, Verinia Granum, former assistant dean of pre-health and STEM advising at Hofstra. And we also finally have Courtney on, although not as a panelist. We had this problem one other time, Courtney, where we couldn't get you on as a panelist, but we allowed you to talk, but that just the way that this is set up, you can't share your video. You're a former director of admissions at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. And so you have lots of experience working with students, and they're reading their personal statements, not necessarily giving them direct feedback because you're on the admissions side. But now you have the ability to go, all of those times I wanted to say, why did you write this? You now have that ability.
Yeah, I was going to say there were plenty of times where I was like, oh, if I could have just had 5 minutes with somebody to just say, oh, maybe word this a little bit differently. Yeah, so it's exciting to be on this side. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think this happened to Dr. Wright when we
did
couldn't
it?
get the video.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
Sleuth it out later.
Yeah.
Yep. Ryan, we didn't introduce ourselves either.
Yeah.
I just sort of skipped over intros today. I don't know why.
You need no introduction. Everyone
I
knows
probably
who
need
you
a
are.
little bit of an introduction. Anyway, I'm Rachel. I help pre-meds.
You're MCAT test prep extraordinaire in the
Yeah.
test prep and pre-med world for 20 plus years.
She's old.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
you-
Ryan. I'm a physician by training, and I started medical school headquarters in 2012, February 2012. So I'm coming up on my 11-year anniversary this month. And yeah, I love doing these to help all of you understand what to do, what not to do, and hopefully give you some guidance on making this process a little bit smoother for you all.
All right, let's dig into some seeds.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's
am I
do it.
screen sharing or are you?
Sure, you can do it.
All right. Let me find the right.
So what we're about to do for all of you here watching, and there are a lot of you here, is we are going to jump into actually looking at submissions that you all submitted. These are all anonymous, and we are going to go, hey, first you are all going to go, hey, here's what I think. And then we're going to go, hey, here's what we think. This is the format that we use in Application Academy. It works really, really well. You can learn a lot from reading other people's seeds and hearing the feedback on other people's seeds or watering events or whatever it is that we're reviewing. So let's have some fun.
All right, so I'm spinning my mouse. This is not first come, first serve, just because I never want people to feel like they're racing. So let's start here with my ears rang.
So as you wrap up reading these, some of you are faster readers than others. What are your thoughts here? What do you think? We are less nitpicky on proper grammar, unless it's like super, super big thing. And just more like, what is the story getting across? Is this a good seed in terms of, do I understand what this event, this experience, what the impact was on this person's motivation to explore healthcare?
So we've got some comments coming in here. Nancy says, too much of a focus on the physician and not on the person towards the reflection at the end. Hannah says, attention grabbing. Someone else says, I like the hook. Oh, now the comments are coming thick and fast. Let's see. Very focused on the setting, but not his or her motivation.
Yeah. So
Very
you guys can
descriptive.
see, right? One of the challenges with storytelling and using anecdotes is this balance between writing a story and creative writing. And I think this one probably goes a little bit too far into the creative writing, which is what you all are like, it's a little creative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this whole
sense.
thing is a story with no reflection, right? So
Yep.
this very much feels, this whole first paragraph feels like a creative writing essay, right? So my suspicion is that some of this could just be consolidated down.
Yep.
And then, you know, again, we tend not to nitpick about vocabulary or grammar or syntax because, you know, you can download Grammarly for free and it'll give you a lot of that. But sometimes these words, the word choice feels a little unnatural to me. And, you know, whoever wrote this, I don't know you, maybe this is exactly how you talk, but the endless questions that spewed from me and my parents, my guess is if you were just telling me the story, you would have worded that sentence differently. So you don't want to make the admissions committee member, the reader, have to work too hard. Right? Like the New York Times is 9th grade reading level. It's not that spewed is that fancy of a word. I mean, slang for puke, but you probably just said my parents and I had a ton of questions, you know, like it just makes sure that you want to use clear words that have specific meanings, but also that you're not trying to make it sound fancy. You don't need to use a thesaurus. You can just use whatever word you would normally pick.
Yeah, write the way you speak.
Write the way you speak.
Write the way you speak, and then you can always go back and edit if necessary. But the simpler, the better.
Yeah, and then my biggest concern here is this reflection doesn't quite seem to be why medicine. It sort of seems more like why my physician was a superstar.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I do think it's description heavy, but I might look past that if the reflection really drove it home. But this is the start of a 5,000 character, 5,300 character essay of why medicine, and you haven't given me a why medicine yet. You've just given me a why I admire my other physician.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good start. It's always hard to be first. Big points for it being February and you already have a draft. Big points for being willing to
Definitely.
do this in public, and we'll just keep going. All right, let's do this one. I firmly believe
That I can fly, that I can touch the sky.
I don't know if they know that song.
How dare them if they don't.
Have they seen Space Jam?
I mean, it is like an American tentpole.
Where can you see the essays? On your screen, Sophie?
Right? You might need to go up to your view, like your view settings, but I've got screen share on. People seem to be reading them.
I'm a fast reader, so I'm going to go back to Space Jam in 4th grade because I'm old. Me and my friends did the Space Jam dance at a talent show. We won. It was very cool of us. It was very cool.
I'm jealous.
So I'm having just some visual stuff. I'm not reading the comments very well today. Just like literally physically hard for me to read. So I don't know if one of you guys can kind of summarize what we're seeing coming in the comments here.
A lot of mixed reviews.
Okay.
So some didn't like the first sentence and how it flowed. Some were talking about reversing the thoughts and not having dance and then the gynecologist. Some were saying that this is a long first paragraph or that it was massive. So that's what I was seeing.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I see? I see a paragraph that says, I know what skills are necessary to be a physician, and I'm going to tell you what skills I have to bring to the table.
I agree.
Vernie, what do you think there?
I agree 100%. Like dance, medicine is a space for collaboration.
So is every other place you work.
Yeah, and someone I think said that in the comments too.
Yeah.
Emphasizing this idea of, we talked, we were vulnerable, we supported each other, it was very collaborative. Not at all why medicine. How is this related to your wanting to be a physician in the first place?
Yeah.
So this is a very, very common strategy, and this is just our general philosophy here at Medical School HQ. Is the personal statement is, why do you want to be a doctor? Not tell me why you think you have the skills necessary to be a doctor.
Right.
There are other advisors out there that will tell you to sell yourself till the cows come home. And that's just generally not our idea of how you connect with another person through your writing here. And so your dance choreography, that experience will be in your activities section.
Yes.
And you can focus on teamwork and collaboration, communication, whatever you want to talk about there. That's where that will live. But for the personal statement, why do you want to be a doctor? And so that's just missing here.
I would even venture to say that the last sentence could be the start of their seed. Could be the
Right.
start of the whole thing.
Me too. I thought the
Get
same
rid of
thing.
everything. Yeah.
Because everything I've highlighted, save that. You're going to be able to use a lot of that in your activity. And then it sounds like this is your
That's it. Yeah. And that's your start right there. Go with that. Start there. Explore that more.
Yeah. And good writing, right? Hang on to this. It's not a bad essay. It's in the wrong spot. But yeah, do get rid of the sales part. All right. Let's keep on chugging. I hit the bottom. All right, let's do this. I was born in Asela, Ethiopia.
So Elise, yes, if you want to submit something, go ahead. We may get to it, we may not. But
remember, I'm going randomly, so just because I hit the bottom doesn't mean we're done. I just been jumping around.
the document that we're using is constantly updated.
Yep. All right, comments are coming in, mostly positive. People like the opening line. People are saying, why not public health? That's an interesting question. Someone says they think it's solid. Yeah, I think that this is pretty strong. My first thought, honestly, is it feels like a seed in a watering event, or two seeds, and you got to pick which one. But there's a lot of potential here. I really enjoyed this sentence, right? We talk about telling stories, but sometimes maybe it's better to say tell anecdotes. This one sentence gives me an image, right? I'd be interested to know how old you are. It sounds like you were young enough to have recess, so probably pretty young. But I suddenly am picturing, right, you sitting with your friend who can't play. And that gives me, I like it when people can plant little images or write sentences that really make me think about their experience, because it helps the essay stay with me later in the day, right? Because again, admissions committee readers reading maybe dozens of essays in a day. So the ones that are heartfelt like this tend to resonate. I remember them later. What do you think, Ryan?
Sure. Yes, agree.
Anything else? Keep moving. No constructive criticism for this person?
Courtney, what are your thoughts?
So in reading this, I mean, I do agree. I think the first one is a solid seed. The next one, potentially a bit redundant, but not bad. It's just kind of reiterating the same thing, right? I wanted to do more and I couldn't.
Good point.
So it's
yeah, I didn't go the second paragraph because I was like, she cheated. I'm not doing her watering event.
Overall, it's pretty good. Yeah, and I liked the same thing, Rachel, where it's like sitting outside during recess. That gives me a lot with very minimal characters. I feel like that gives me a lot of context of the qualities of this person without having to kind of promote themselves or have it come across as silly. You could tell that this person has empathy. So those things are good. Overall, good.
Yeah, good start. Keep
writing. Right in the middle. Yep.
All right, let's do this blood drip down my legs. Who's trying to gross us out? Did I get the whole essay? Yep, there. That's all of it.
Yeah, so this is another one. First paragraph is the seed paragraph, and the second paragraph would potentially be a watering event.
Exactly. So you can resubmit that later if you want. We're not doing it today.
It is kind of an odd jump where I feel like, I don't know, I guess maybe there are critical situations where you're going to be running down the hallway with your grandmother for lung cancer, but
Yeah.
I don't know what that situation is. And maybe that's just because I personally have not seen that. But between that and then the following summer, I shadowed an endodontist or endocrinologist. Seems like kind of an odd jump. And I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe that should be, oops.
That's the start of like the
Paragraph,
next sentence.
Right.
Or the next paragraph, right?
Right. Like that's probably actually part of the seed. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was expecting like a gunshot wound.
Right.
And not lung cancer. I don't know. It was just, it seems like they were trying to make it a bit more racy, I guess, than it was.
Well, and just confusing. And I see some comments the same, like you bashed your shins against an unstable gurney. So I thought, first I thought, what gurney actually cuts you?
Right.
Like, then I thought, okay, you're rushing someone, so you're an employee, but it's your grandmother. And I'm just real confused. And again, you can clarify here in the chat if you're here, but the reader is only going to have a few minutes on your essay and move on. So,
and
I'm worried that you tried so hard for a hook that you forgot to be clear.
Well, yeah. And not every experience is going to be life or death, right? It does not have to be this moment to moment experience that makes you pursue medicine. If it wasn't, just a critical care moment, that's not a bad thing either. So don't feel like you need to puff it up to the point where it's now seeming like it potentially didn't happen. And sorry if this actually did, but I'm just saying, as somebody who evaluates lots and I'm kind of looking already for things and I'm skimming, this doesn't seem believable. So just know that somebody with no other context may think that, adjust accordingly, maybe add if it actually did happen, maybe it needs a bit more depth and answers to some of these questions that are popping up, but this is why you get feedback, right? It just seems a little inflated.
Yeah. Tough love, but better from us than from the adcoms. All right. So let's do this go get help. I'm going to move it so it's all on one page.
I also want to say welcome to those who are joining. Our reminder email went out, I think, an hour later than it should have. So maybe some of you are joining us a little bit late. We're reviewing submissions right now and just giving feedback on them. And so if you submitted today, this sheet that we're looking at is constantly being updated with new submissions. So we're just scrolling around and we may see yours, we may not see yours.
This is another seed and
Yeah.
watering event.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, just matter of time. We're not doing watering
Mhm.
events today. That's going to be its own session later. So when I'm doing this big strike through, it's not me saying all this text is bad. It's me reminding myself, do not need to review. What do you think, Verinia?
I actually like this. I like it works well as a seed. And it's not over the top inflating what happened. Picturing a 5-year-old, it's almost written the way a 5-year-old would process it.
Yeah.
And the impact of, man, I want to do for others what was done for me. They brought my father back home. Grandfather, sorry.
I think father, yeah.
Father, yeah. So it works for me as a seed, where it's kind of like a little bit rough. It's the last sentence.
Yeah.
That's when I started working toward the goal, because it sounds like you're still that 5-year-old.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like
So
that's the day I realized is fine. And again, it doesn't even have to be realized. Seed doesn't have to be I know for sure. Seed is maybe.
Yep.
And I definitely see how this was your maybe, but I don't think at 5 you decided to go be a health scholar at Kaiser Permanente.
You're right,
Yeah.
right. So you need something there to transition.
Yeah. So here's my struggle with this is it's a 5-year-old, right? And this 5-year-old had this. It was then that I started working toward the goal of becoming a physician. It's too hyperbolic, right? There's nothing in this story that shows me the emotion of what this person saw or experienced as a 5-year-old, the impact to the family as a 5-year-old. It's just dad fell, some surgeons helped, and I worked from that day forward to be a doctor. So it's a little 1-2 skip a few.
Yeah.
And I think like a student said here, Daniel, it's like trying to force this story onto this past event because you're only 5. And so you're like, oh, I have to have this seed of when this and that. And yeah, it's probably when I was 5. So I think probably this is this person's seed, but to me, it's missing a few connections to help me put it all together.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, some people have phenomenal memories from when they were 5. So like Ryan said, maybe it's just more about like the relief you felt when your dad came home. Because you did say my dad was able to come home to me, but that's like 2.5 sentences after you say you realized, right? So maybe you need to give us some more emotional context first. But also my guess is some of this is the family legend, the growing up, the remembering the event over and over, the like how your dad was fragile or not fragile, right? Like the post-stroke effects. So yeah, what can you do to dig a little deeper here? It's a good start. You're thinking hard, you're trying to remember. That's where it begins. Sorry. We'll just call that one done.
What was that? What did I miss?
Look at this.
I'll just read.
Who wanted to be funny guy?
Oh, yeah. It sounds like they're white and aware of it. So I guess I give them points for that.
Is your name George? If your name is George, we don't want you here.
You can go now.
Okay,
You may leave.
Let's do this acne one. 1,037 characters. And you,
George.
what are you going to do about your acne?
George.
As a fellow Long Islander, I do not claim George.
George isn't from Long Island, is he? He's a Texas
he ran out
resident.
here. Oh, that George. Wait, which George are you talking about? I was
No,
talking about
not George Santos.
Santos.
I'm talking about George, the guy who sued the Texas medical schools. George.
That's what I was thinking, is it feels like he wrote that. Yeah.
Got
Like,
it.
my stats were
I was
good.
thinking
Come on, we're supposed
George.
to be compassionate.
George Santos, the only man
Yeah.
to score a 530 on the MCAT.
That's the one. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, we're back on track. I scrolled up out of habit. It's this essay about
Okay.
acne. Let's give it a read and then type in your comments. Interesting comment from Elise. She says, this is their seed, not just a seed. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like it feels personal. Is that what you're saying, Elise?
I'm confused who Dr. V is. Like, and this statement here of like, I wasn't her intended patient.
It sounds to me like daughter, and you're right, it should be spelled
Yeah.
out because we shouldn't have to guess. But
Is
it
the
sounds to
mom
me
the
like
patient
daughter
of
there to
Dr. B?
Yes.
translate
Yeah, the
mom.
mom got off the table, and obviously this person was attending with their parent.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Maybe
doesn't. That's
maybe
super
not
clear.
obviously,
Yeah.
but
Right. So clarify the context. I agree because it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that this is sincere. It's a small moment. Seeds do not have to be a hook. Seeds do not need to be dramatic or traumatic. Acne is a big deal, but acne is a thing that gets fixed over time. So she's picking the moment where the help started, or he, I don't know, they.
Mhm.
I like this. That was the start of my curiosity, right? That really feels like a seed to me. They're not trying to make it into a giant aha moment. They're not trying to make it into a vow. They're just saying, this is where it began for me.
I'm usually not a fan of dialogue in personal statements, but I think in this case it works well too, like including that quote of the doctors. So if you're going to do that, be sporadic and intentional about it. Don't just randomly quote conversations.
Yeah, really good start here. Just get a little more clarity for the context. Make sure the reader understands what's happening. Okay.
Does the seed have to be in the first paragraph? No, that's a very common question and misconception. It does not have to be in chronological order at all, as long as I understand while I'm reading it where I am in your story.
Yeah. All right, so we'll do this one as a recruit parasailing. All right. What do people think?
I have mixed feelings about this one.
Yeah.
Just gonna jump in because one part of me understands the caring. Another part of me feels like this is an overstep, given that he's providing medical guidance without actual supervision from a physician or knowledge of a physician, which could have done more harm than good. So I feel like this is a bit of an overstep. And they should have been more driven to change the culture to actually seek proper medical aid than still continue to skirt it and do things without training. So I have mixed feelings about this.
Yeah. This isn't a seed either. This is, hey, I already have pre-med courses and some shadowing experiences.
Yeah.
So there's more to the story than what's going on here. And then, yeah, I think this comes across, unfortunately, a little bit arrogant of like, hey, look at me. I'm already acting like a doctor. They even call me doc. So be careful.
Yeah. Arrogant and potentially harmful, right? So it's not just the attitude, it's you took some serious risks there. And even though they kind of try to brush it off as it was like playing doctor, so they understand, like it's it's scary.
But this is people's livelihoods, right? You know, I mean, it's one thing to not seek treatment for your own needs and kind of do haphazard raps, but you know, if you're in a platoon and they're coming to you as authority and you have no training, all right, and this could mess up somebody's livelihood in their profession. So I just not a big fan.
No, either. All right, let's keep going. All right, let's do this on a seemingly normal day one.
It also gives me pause on professionalism issues, right? I mean, this person kind of skirting rules and proper authority and training, even though I understand what they were trying to get across. I start seeing it a little bit as an integrity or professionalism issue. So just strong feelings.
Tread carefully. Tread carefully.
Tread carefully.
All right, let's keep going. Got this one on a seemingly normal day. This guy. All right, got some mixed comments. I think some people are really appreciating how real this feels. And some people seem to be questioning kind of this idea of making a promise at age 13. One thing that really stood out at me when I read this is all of this is pretty good storytelling and seems to be building to a reflection, right? So I was expecting after I was going to die to have some reflection. And I thought the reflection was going to be personal, because this is a personal statement. And then this sentence. And now I'm not from an immigrant low-income family, so I'm not going to tell you that that's not true. This sentence may be completely true to your experience, and it may be true to many other people who are immigrants in low-income families, but nothing in the paragraph before that prepared me for that. Had your dad been having chest pains and ignoring it? Had he been told he was probably going to need a stent and he refused to get one? Like, I don't know where this sentence comes from, and it feels like a quick turn into public health. And I think someone might have put that in the comments as a compliment. And, you're allowed to have different opinions with me, but I disagree. This feels like why public health, why social work. It doesn't feel like why medicine. And also it does feel kind of out of the blue, like nothing in the paragraph. Like, I get that it was scary, but heart attacks are sudden. So I don't understand why this feels like we waited until an emergency. Like, I mean, it's a cardiac arrest, like it's an emergency, right? So I just feel like I'm not quite getting where you're coming from with this stark reality washing over you.
Yeah.
So I have a couple things. Number one, in general, my recommendation is to write in past tense.
Yeah.
Makes things easier to read. So that's just in general.
Especially when tense change. Present
Yeah.
tense. Yeah.
And then I agree, this transition from my dad had a heart attack to I'm going to now push what seems like an agenda, right? Of I want to talk about low income. I want to talk about immigrant. Like, that obviously is your story. And I'm not diminishing that or invalidating that. But this switch so immediate to my dad had a heart attack, I'm going to serve the low income community. It's like, where did that come from? Right. Was this heart attack caused from being part of an immigrant low income community? So that there just needs to be some softer edges there, or left out of this particular part of the personal statement.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, general stance, the pushing of an agenda, that's what it looks like. And that's why my general stance is leave your agenda out of these things. Answer the question, why do you want to be a doctor? Your agenda will hopefully show when maybe you have an activity that shows that you're serving an immigrant community, a low-income community,
Right.
And you can talk about those passions there.
Right. The theme is why medicine. You don't need another theme. All right, let's do this one. Last words I heard on my ambulance rotation were time of death. There.
What do you guys think about this group setting for reviewing essays like this? You guys like this? Is it helpful to see what other people write and the feedback on it? Yeah. So this is what Application Academy is. So if you guys haven't checked out Application Academy, I'm going to go make a coupon real quick so we can give people a coupon for Application Academy.
Oh, well, and I tried to put a link, but maybe Kara's here and can make a better link. I don't want to no one needs to worry. I'm having trouble seeing and therefore having trouble typing. I just probably need to go clean my glasses.
There you go. I'm going to make a coupon right now too, if you guys want it.
So Vernie or Courtney, you want to lead the charge on this since Ryan and I are
sure.
asking?
Sorry, still reading, got sidetracked by comments.
Yeah, you can really get pulled into them, man. Oh, that's better. There's the screen. So while we're reading and looking at comments, Paige asks, if I'm a 2025, I assume med entry year, should I wait till 2024 for Application Academy? Possibly. I would say you probably want to wait until at least the summer or fall. You get 1 year access, and the bulk of application work tends to happen roughly January to October, the year you apply. So my concern, if you started right now, is by the time your year's up, your actual application wouldn't be open. There typically aren't a lot of changes year to year, but sometimes there are a few. So I think you're best served to sign up in like October or November the year before you apply, or January the year that you do apply. That seems to be about the right timeline for most people.
So I have a few comments about this one. They're already working as an EMT. So to me, that's already, this isn't your seed yet. You've already entered healthcare. So this might have been a pivot point where you thought, oh, I'm going to stay in, work as an EMT, but you know what? Now I'm going to change and become a physician. But it's not the seed. It's not the seed itself. That's the first thing I'm thinking of as I'm reading this.
Agreed.
And I think most people that go into that type of work don't really see themselves staying there long or like retiring from that. Usually it's like a means to more.
Yeah, sometimes. Certainly among pre-meds, that's the case. Yeah, I don't think this is bad. It does feel like a watering event to me.
Right.
Someone in the comments said something about like there's some grammar and syntax stuff here, and yeah, I see some of it too, but again, we tend not to fixate on that. You know, you're not paying for our English skills, you're paying for our admissions expertise. So grammarly.com, free extension, use it.
Rachel, I just sent you a message.
Oh, okay. Sometimes when I'm screen sharing, I don't know how to look at messages.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. I forgot your screen sharing.
Yeah. Maybe, no, my phone's charging. I was like, I can look on my phone. Do you want to DM me in the Zoom chat? I would see that. All right, let's do this as a medical assistant. Well, wait, no, that's not a seed. Let's do a different one. We already did not a seed. We don't need to do another not a seed. Okay, here we go. When I initially started college, this one. Oops, I just replied to everyone, but I still think it's fine, Ryan.
All right.
You guys don't know what he asked, but I agree. Again, just for context, I know some of you joined late. We're doing personal statement review here. We've got about a half hour left. We'll leave some time for Q&A. We're going to do some more seed reviews. A seed is not trauma. It is not drama. It does not have to be a vow. It can be subtle. And it's the moment that you first thought, maybe healthcare. And although it doesn't have to be the first paragraph, it often is. And this is our philosophy. It's not the only way to write a personal statement. We're talking about the medical school HQ kind of recommended method. The idea here is the prompt is why medicine, and you are going to pick a few key moments from your life that show your why medicine journey, that help the admissions committee member, reader, understand why you want to be a physician. And there's going to be a lot of other skills and life experiences that you want to share, but those come up in the activities essays or the other impactful essay or the disadvantaged essay. Like there's other places that stuff shows up. So everything for today that we're reviewing is personal statement. So it's why medicine. And today's session is seed, not we'll do other personal statement sessions later in the winter and spring. So today is just specifically that first moment that you thought, maybe medicine. So we want the story and we want the reflection.
And I just put the coupon code. If you like this format, this is what Application Academy is. 10 sessions a week of this kind of stuff, or sometimes open Q&A. Come hang out with us if you're applying this cycle.
I'm doing interview skills today.
Nice.
We'll see how many people want to start brushing up on those.
We could
Maybe
send a
some
little
people-
nudge if you want. Yesterday I did secondaries and I had
Mhm.
2 submissions. So I sent an email
Yeah.
being like, why would you want to talk about secondaries in February? And then like 30 people showed. So
Yeah.
maybe we
Oh,
want to do a little
I
interview plug for you.
I had an interview session, I think the second week, and I had 6 or 7 students show up. So
Yep.
they're
Nice.
rearing to go.
Some
All right.
people
Well,
may
one
just need a
comment from
break.
Elise I agree with, which is maybe this is also a watering event because again, they already
Mhm.
intended to be a nurse. And you're right. I just missed that when I picked it. But again, if it's not that it's necessarily a bad essay, but I don't think it's the seed because the seed was whatever made them want to become a nurse. It doesn't have to be why medicine. It can be why healthcare. Ryan said at the start of the session that his seed was physical therapy. And his seed wasn't his first major moment with medicine, right? Your first major moment with medicine, Ryan, was one that didn't cause a lot of reflection. So
Mhm.
you're not picking the chronological first one, you're picking the one that had meaning to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is what and students will ask me this all the time. Well, which one do I pick? I'm like, I can't pick for you, right? You have to
Yeah.
go with the one that is the truth.
Mhm.
I could have easily feigned a story of, and I have a lot of emotions around it, right? Of growing up with a father who was a type 1 diabetic, again, sitting in the dialysis centers, watching the little like 5-inch screens on the TV. I remember to this day, when I came home from school and my mom, they were divorced at that point. They got divorced when I was like 2. But my mom telling me that there was a match for a kidney for my dad who was in kidney failure, which is obviously why he was on dialysis. And me like just bawling and breaking into tears of happiness. And so I could have easily said that was the day I knew, right? But it just wasn't the truth. I wanted to be a professional baseball player. That's what my goal was at that age.
Mhm. Well, you did get to be a baseball player in a movie.
I did play one in a movie. Yes, I did. A Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore
I
production.
love that movie too. It makes me so happy that you're in it because I normally am not into rom-coms and I love that rom-com. So it just tickles me that you are in it. All right. Oh, wait, did we do that one? Yeah. Did we do everything we wanted to do with the nurse one? Sorry, I turned off and then I realized.
Yeah,
We
I
said
think
probably not a seed,
right.
but
There's-
also kind of is it 2 things? It's the pregnancy, it's the gynecologist. If it really was the gynecologist, maybe for whatever reason that you don't consider becoming a nurse your seed, maybe it was this moment. But then if that's the case, why all the context about
Mhm.
nursing?
Yeah, and a lot of focus on utilizing skills here.
Mhm.
I wanted to utilize these skills.
Yeah, and then coming from a humble background, fulfilling need for good
Mhm.
doctors in underserved communities. It's like I could see each of these being fleshed out into their own paragraphs. Like I don't see a seed here. It almost feels like a highly compressed personal statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Just keep writing. Okay. All right. I don't remember the day my mom tore her ACL. That's where we are. Oops. What do we think here, friends? Have we read it all? I read fast, so I don't always know when other people are done.
I'll jump in.
Great.
Kind of mixed thoughts again. I liked the first paragraph for the most part. I don't know if we need all of those questions that were asked.
Mhm.
Why or why not, or why can't you would have just been enough to kind of get the point. You know, maybe putting like in an offhanded manner, she said, I would need to become a doctor to answer that. But I think that could be a seed. It falls short a little bit than when I read the second part.
Yeah.
I'm unsure how I feel about that. One, I kind of like the context, but you're also 12 years old. And again, it seems, I don't know, it seems a little forced.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but I can't give much as to why, other than it takes away a little bit from the impact of the first.
Yeah. Yeah. When I read this, I couldn't tell if this was exhausted, in pain mom saying, you're annoying me and I'm trying to quiet you down without being rude to you, because it's not your fault that you don't get it. You're only 8. Or if this was mom was saying, wow, your curiosity is impressive. You should be a doctor. So I tried to give the mom the benefit of the doubt. And again, that already speaks to like, you should have spelled it out for me. You don't want to make me work for it. But I tried to give the doubt. And then my mom panicked at this point. She barely remembered the conversation I had. Okay, so first of all, it's about you, not your mom. But now I'm like, oh, she was just shutting down the kid. She was just trying to get them to like stop asking questions. And so it's just weird. Like, did your mom encourage you to be a physician or not? And then you spend several sentences telling you about things that aren't medicine. You only get 5,300 characters for why medicine. I don't think you want to waste any precious space on why not medicine, unless there's like a really big pivot moment, but not a 12-year-old thinking about 17 options. And it just, with respect, like most of us do that. Most of us as a kid are like, maybe a vet, maybe an astronaut. I don't, like that's normal. And it's great. It's great to keep your mind open like that. But that it just, yeah, it doesn't feel very connected to, I'm still waiting for adult you to tell me here's why.
Maybe a baseball player.
Maybe an extra in a Drew Barrymore rom-com. What do you think, Verinia? You've been doing a lot of essays lately. I know you have lots of 101 students.
Yeah, I felt spot on with everything. I agree with everything you are all saying. I kind of feel like we don't really even need the second paragraph. Like, you can pull out what you need from there,
Mm-hmm.
And then go from there. This is a lot of information we
Mm-hmm.
don't need.
Yeah, there's a lot of rhetorical
Yeah.
here. What movie is that from? Where the guy's like, rhetorical.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure
Oh.
yet.
Is it from Scrubs? Is that what that's from?
Maybe. I was thinking about Stargate, where they're like, it's a completely redundant system. And then everyone immediately goes, so you're saying it's redundant. It's like an ongoing joke for 10 years of that show.
Yeah.
All right. 5:10. Should we do one more and then we can start doing Q&A?
Sure.
Someone said they'd submitted more. I'm going to check and see, if the bottom changed. Okay, we'll get this. I laid on the hospital bed, still groggy.
Another Dr. B. Is it
But
the
it is
same Dr.
different because
B?
this is a colonoscopy. No, I think it's
No,
different.
I know. It's just funny. I'm laughing at Joel's comment.
What did it say?
What if it's the same Dr. B and they're just out there inspiring everyone to become a doctor?
It's doing God's work. Yes, the recording will be sent.
What do we think, team?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's good. I mean, it's to the point, right? The impact that Dr. B had on them. I just wanted to mention it's okay to name the doctor if you're worried about, you know, privacy or whatever. You can give them a pseudonym, but it helps your reader connect with what you're writing about if they have a name to that person. Don't feel like you have to abbreviate.
Yeah. Unless their name is like Dr. Batana Vanamonovich.
True.
It's like 40 characters
47 characters.
per last name.
Yeah.
Dr.
Okay. You're
Bob.
right.
Right?
You're right.
Dr. Bob.
Yep.
Make it easy.
Make it up.
When you sign up for the 10 sessions with the Academy for help, is it just like this or any one-on-one for your own statement? So Academy is all group. It's 10 sessions a week. When you sign up, it's a year's worth of access, 10 sessions a week, and it's just like this.
Yeah. And then there is a 10 session, or really it's 10-hour one-on-one bundle. There are also 20, 15, 30, 40 bundles. So if you want one-on-one, that's also at medicalschoolhq.net. Just go from that website to the advising tab and you'll see the Academy stuff. You'll also see the one-on-one options, but Academy is group. All right. Anything else about this essay? Courtney, you want to chime in?
I'm neutral on this one. I think, you know, depending on how the rest of it goes, I think it could be good if, you know, this is an impactful situation for them. It makes sense. And if you hadn't explored medicine prior to that, makes sense and written well. So sure.
Yeah. Same. I think it's a good start. I was a little confused by thoughts of confusion, shame, anger, and most of all fear. I mean, I'm not your therapist, but shame seemed like an interesting choice to me.
Yeah.
And you know, you feel what you feel, but yeah, I don't think of all sort of colitis as something that's typically tied to shame. So
it is.
It can be.
Is it?
It
Okay.
is. Yes.
Got it. Okay, I stand corrected.
I have several IBD family members and
Got it. Oh, never mind. Okay, now I'm thinking through why there could be shame. Sorry,
Right.
slow on the uptake. My bad. Okay. I appreciate you being heartfelt. But
Especially
what I say is like, you don't always need dialogue. So maybe if you turn this into sentences that aren't dialogue, instead of like, this isn't even dialogue, right? It's your thoughts. Like, I would be starting college student. How would I manage this? Right. Like, and maybe even spelling it out for idiots like me who didn't think it out. Like, am I going to always have to know where the nearest bathroom is? Am I going to have to wear a diaper? I mean, I don't know what your thoughts were, but I didn't pick it up right away. I mean, I'm not, you know, I make errors, but maybe someone else also might need that help.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good
Awesome.
start. Should we
Let's open up some questions.
Yeah.
All right. So raise your hand if you have some questions you want to ask. We'll allow you to unmute and ask them. It's a lot more fun than just trying to read questions.
Definitely. Yeah. We'd much rather have you guys come on and talk.
All right. Lisa's been asking lots of questions. Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. All right. There you go. Hello there. Hello, hello.
Elise.
I cannot hear you.
Oh no.
There we go.
There you
Maybe.
go.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Great. So sorry, I'm in a different place than usual. So I have to admit that this is personal-ish. So I'm coming at this from, I'm very much a non-traditional student. And I guess personally, I feel like my personal statement is a time for me to explain why the change. You know, I'm a college professor, I'm an English professor. So why am I wanting to go to medical school when I am already in another field that's so different?
Yeah.
What do you like when it comes to the seed? How much time should I spend on why now, and how much on like the first thing that got me interested in medicine?
The general it depends, number one, on what your specific journey is. So there are typically two scenarios that we see with non-trads, and non-trads are mostly who we work with. This one scenario is you wanted to be a pre-med when you were younger. You either had a situation where you couldn't be, or you decided that you couldn't be for one reason or another, so you went down this other path. And now something has finally said, screw it, I'm going back, I'm going to do it. So that's one potential scenario. Is that your specific scenario?
It is not.
It is not.
Basically,
Okay.
I had a lot of medical experience, but we're poor and I didn't know any doctors personally. Yep. So I was just like, well, that's something, being a doctor is something that geniuses do. So I'll just do it on
so my first scenario is your scenario.
Yeah.
You had experiences, but because of your upbringing, your specific situation, the thought of becoming a physician yourself never really materialized.
Oh, okay.
And so you went down this other path.
Yeah.
And so that happens all the time. I've talked to Orthodox Jewish women who, in their religion, like, you're made to have babies. You don't go to school. Or people from either lower socioeconomic, where they don't see doctors around, people for whatever religious or faith, they don't see doctors like them, so they don't go down that path. So that sounds like you probably have a seed in your upbringing where you're like, oh, that's interesting, but, right? Yeah. And then at some point recently, you have what we've been calling the pivot point of something else happens and you're like, oh man, I guess I'm going to go back to school.
Yeah, I definitely have, like, I have a draft already because I'm trying to get ahead of the curve. You know, I work full time, I'm taking all my prerequisites. But yeah, I know that, like, I've spent a lot of time in this draft talking about why the pivot. Like, yeah, why am I committing my life to something and going back to school when I already have been to school for 6 years? Yeah. So I will tell you the common mistake that I generally see is students spend too much time trying to defend why they're doing it instead of just letting them know, I'm doing it. And here's and a very brief the pivot point. It's kind of like a seed 2.0 of what it is that's drawing you to medicine, and then leave it. And you don't need to rationalize. You don't need to go, I know that I've been in school for this long. You don't need to talk about why you're leaving. Like, don't overdo it. It was definitely a hard decision for me. And
of course.
I could kind of reflect that, like, I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah, of course.
So I thank you so much for your time. I won't take up any more, but thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good luck, Elise.
Thank you.
Come hang out with us in Application Academy.
That's what I was just thinking.
All right, so I'll go there. Hannah. Hello, Hannah. Unmute.
Hannah Sanchez, please unmute.
Hi, sorry, my computer is actually old. Okay, so I guess my question was, could we use like multiple seeds? Like, over time, over years of growing up, there was multiple little instances where I was like, maybe I want to go into medicine, little by little, and then eventually coming to the realization, yes, that's what I want to do. Is that like too much sharing, or is that, like, acceptable?
Brittany?
Yeah, I think Hannah, you pick the one thing that you think is really what pushed you. Yeah, and you can maybe say there were other things along the way that affected me or whatever led me down this path. But after a while, it just becomes a little bit redundant. and you're using that space to reflect on why you're doing this, and you don't want to spend too much character space on kind of just saying the same thing over and over again. So think about it, think through it. What was the thing that really you could say, you can identify and say, okay, this is what started me on this path, and then along the way, all these other little things also kind of kept pointing me in that direction.
Okay, gotcha. So pick like one initial, and then kind
yeah,
of
there's always that one
little details, but not too. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, Brianna.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
So I had a quick question. So as an applicant who's applying to mainly DO schools, I had a lot of shadowing experience with doctors who do a lot of OMM. And so should I write that in my personal statement or keep it into secondaries?
Miss former director of admissions at an osteopathic medical school.
Really? Me?
You? Moi?
Totally up to you, right? It's if you are going to use this for both your MD and DO schools, probably not, I would say. If you're going to do different, then it's okay to put it in there. I would caution you, make sure it doesn't seem inorganic or you're just trying to be silly about it. Like there needs to be a purpose for mentioning it. It's not a requirement to have it in there, but if you do have experiences that you feel were impactful that you do want to mention and that was part of it, it certainly wouldn't hurt as long as you're not trying to, I guess, force that narrative. Or force the example of that.
That's typically what I see as students. They'll like basically copy and paste their AMCAS essay, and then like randomly like, and oh, by the way, I've seen OMM.
Yeah. And I loved how holistic it was, and stuff like that, where it's just a forced sentence, and that's not helpful, and it's not part of the requirement. So it's something where you just kind of hyper focus on it or like, nah, didn't need that. But if it's positive, if it's impactful, if it is part of something that drew you to pursuing DO or wanting to go to a DO school to learn it, then by all means, add it in. That's great.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm going to have to jump off here too, because I've got a one-on-one here in just a couple minutes that I need to prep for. So,
and that's good timing because lots of people are saying, what if I want more personal help? If you want to get one-on-one help with Courtney or Verinia, they're available for lots of students this year. Ryan and I have some limited availability, typically just short-term sessions. Verinia and Courtney can do short-term and longer-term programs. That's what the one-on-one advising is. That's at medicalschoolhq.net. And then we all, the four of us, plus Dr. Scott Wright, who's not here today because of the power stuff happening in Texas. All five of us. Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Texas Grid. We all team teach Academy.
Yeah.
Have a great session, Courtney.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Courtney.
It's the third one. We're going over her stuff. It's so polished at this point.
Nice.
I'm very excited. So just making the last few edits and it'll be good to go. I'm really happy for her to use those and feel confident going in. Okay.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Jasmine.
Hi, yeah, it's Jasmine. As usual, thank you guys again so much for providing these resources. My question is similar to other folks. I'm also super non-trad, but I was pre-med in undergrad and I've been out for about a decade now because I just kind of decided not to go into medicine. And then I decided that I actually do want to go into medicine. And so I'm wondering.
JK LOL.
I'm doing like health policy work. But I'm wondering, like, do I need to do I need to call that out and say like, oh, I kind of opted not to do this and now I like changed my mind again, or like, yeah, I don't know how to frame it, especially since there's so much that I sort of need to talk about since it's been so long.
Yeah, so I think you're very similar to our English teacher that just asked the question of someone who potentially could have been pre-med in her case. In your case, it sounds like you were pre-med. And then probably a sentence or two, maybe at the most, of, and I didn't do that. And then here's why I'm back doing it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I guess I was very pre-med, so I guess I don't know if that's gonna raise any flags like that. You know, I did all the shadowing and okay.
No. Yeah, there's always, and I think non-trads have this unique conundrum's not the right word, but the imposter syndrome maybe of are they going to like me or believe me because I'm so much later in the game, and how do I prove to them that this is them meaning the admissions committees, how do I prove to them that this is what I want if I didn't pursue it in the first place? And how can I make sure 1,000% that I'm really committed this time? And I don't think that's ever a concern unless you don't have the activities to back it up. And you're just like, oh, by the way, I'm here. And yeah, I haven't had any clinical experience in 15 years or shadowing in 10 years, but I'm ready to be a doctor now, right? That's when they'll question it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful and reassuring. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Jasmine, just because I know you're not the only non-traditional, you can feel free to, stay off air, but just for anyone else who's non-trad, I saw someone say like, are they going to judge me that I didn't know when I was 20? No, your prefrontal cortex is not even fully formed until you're 25, right? Lots of people have two careers. We have two students, one who's an academy grad, one who's a one-on-one grad this year, who both just happen to be 56. They don't know each other. We just happen to have two 56-year-olds. By coincidence, both former lawyers. These are people who had whole careers. One of them raised a family, like he's actually got easier work-life balance now because his kids are out of the house. Yeah. And they both have acceptances, right? No one's going, well, former lawyers, they don't make good physicians. They're just saying, tell me your story. Tell me why you're qualified. They still had to take the same prereqs. They still had to go get clinical and shadowing. They did everything a pre-med does. They just did it on a different schedule. And the big plus I want to remind non-traditionals is you have lots of life experience and competencies. And not to say that someone who goes 4 years of college straight to med school doesn't, but you might not have had as many chances. And med schools want to see cultural competence. They want to know that you've worked in teams, that you have sensitivity to different groups and different people, that you have empathy, that you can keep cool when things are stressful. And someone who's had a lot of work experience is probably more likely to have developed that. And again, it doesn't mean you have to take a gap year or two, because there are pre-meds I know that are 22 that have been working 20 hours a week since they were 14. That's a lot of work experience. I'm just saying, like, you've got to be a full-rounded adult. It's not just about, did I do the pre-med path? Did I do the GPA and MCAT? It's why we spend so much time on the personal statement. Yeah.
Elise, I really want to dive deeper in with you. I do have a hard cutoff here at the half hour, though. Teaching does not equal healthcare. Right. So it's like, hey, my draft is very focused on being a teacher, experiences as a teacher in South Korea. That's what convinced me to do healthcare. There's a huge disconnect there. And I see it all the time. And for some reason, it's teachers that are like, I was a teacher, now I want to be a doctor. And I'm like, well, why? And they're like, because I was a teacher. I'm like, and usually the connection is I was a teacher and being a doctor is like a teacher. And so therefore I want to be a doctor. And there's some, it's a stretch. So you got some work to do. Nelly.
Hello. Can y'all hear?
Hello.
Okay. Just kind of a quick question. I kind of saw a lot on the comments while we were doing the reading the personal statements. I saw a lot of comments about age and kind of young age. Is that kind of absurd to say at a young age, I was decided to follow medicine and pursue medicine?
Brittany?
It can be, because really at that age, you're just not, you might have you've been exposed to it and it's kind of planted in there.
You're in lust. You're not in love. You're in lust.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay.
So it's really not processing until you're a little older.
I've never used those words before. That's why I like these types of things, because I'm like, I always think of new ways to say things. But it kind of makes sense. It's like you're in lust then. And then you go through the watering events and actually experiencing patient care, and you're like, I'm in love with this.
Okay. So as far as like my situation, it's kind of like, yes, when I was young, I did kind of want to pursue medicine. So, and I am kind of clinicals right now. So I would, for my personal statement, would it be best to kind of more write about the watering of the clinical experience that pushes me further into medicine?
Well, you do that too, right? Yeah. It's the seed and watering events.
Okay.
And I know not everyone was here at the beginning, but I briefly showed a slide, and it's on. I just posted a link in the chat to a Finding Your Seed video. So we made a choice today to like do a lot of personal statement review. There was a session Ryan did last year that he put on YouTube that was some session review, but also just a lot of like, let's find your seed workshopping. So you guys might find some value from doing that. And then also that's the kind of thing that happens in Academy. So you can come do it 10 times a week if you want. But Nellie, just keep in mind, the seed is not, I was 7 or I was 17 and I knew 100%. The seed is, maybe healthcare. The watering events confirm the desire. And then the conclusion, which we didn't really talk about today, is kind of where you go, I'm burning up and this is my aspiration. So what you're doing is briefly taking the reader through that journey, not your whole life story. There's no time. There's only 5,000 characters, but a couple key moments that show the story. You almost think about it as like a movie trailer for the movie of your life. Give me a couple quick clips that help me understand the story.
Okay, thank you. And I see the link to the video, so I'm definitely going to watch that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have to run. You guys can continue on without me if you want. It was great to see you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, I think we're probably pretty close to done. I don't see any hands. Nellie, did you get your questions answered? I can take you off.
Yeah. I like that idea of us creating a trailer for a personal statement.
Mm-hmm.
The same way they do for the movies.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I think we'll end there. Again, Ryan and I do a little bit of one-on-one advising, but Verinia and Courtney do it full time. They've spent, years reviewing hundreds, maybe thousands of applications. That gets you one-on-one help where someone will look at your personal statement from start to finish if you do one-on-one. If you do Academy, it's group, and it works more like today. We pick certain topics and we focus just on those paragraphs or those topics. The topics constantly rotate. There was a lot of, when can I start? What's the deadline? It runs year round, and we cycle topics every couple of weeks. So whatever it is you're working on, it's going to come around in the next week or two. So we personally think if you're applying this year to start med school next year, that you should be working on your personal statement now. But if your life is crazy and you pop up in April, you're not in trouble. We're going to have personal statement sessions then too.
Like a gym membership. Every time you show up, there's a new weekly schedule for classes.
All right. Michaela said she couldn't raise her hand, but she wanted to ask, how can I not say I wanted to be a doctor, but now I want to be a PA? So you're actually asking about your pre-PA essay. Is that's what you're saying? I think that's fine, because again, the same philosophy arises. The seed is why healthcare, and then the watering events get you to the specific healthcare path you're picking. It is very common for someone to start with physical therapy and end up with nurse practitioner, or start with nurse and end up with doctor, right? So I think everything we've said today applies. It's the same idea.
Yep.
All right, friends, thanks so much for coming. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Keep an eye on premedworkshop.com. We're going to have a couple of these every month.
Bye.